One, two, three. Good morning, everybody. So I've been following American politics for a long time. I've read hundreds of books and spent thousands and tens of thousands of hours thinking about all this stuff. I even wrote a book on the topic this fall, condensing everything I learned over the years into a map of what life looks like and a path forward. So I'm actually in the process of recording the audiobook for that. You can get the Kindle version of this book for $1.99 on Amazon. So I just want the word out. I want to serve the people. One of the things that I'm seeing that's really problematic right now is that the the chasm between Europe and America right now, and it's very much down to the media. In Denmark, 80% of the population believe in the news that they get from the two major government-owned television stations, DR and TV2. 80%. 80%. Most people still believe the newspapers and what they read in the newspapers. I started subscribing to two of the biggest conservative ones, so-called supposedly conservative newspapers. And it's crazy what you're reading. So I wanted to share a little bit here so that you can get a sense of it. And so here's an article. It's the top story on Berlingske, which is one of the top sites in Denmark. And I turn on translate for all of you guys. You can see this is what it looks like without it. And then I translate it here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's long and boring, but I'll give you a sense of the kind of manipulation that happens. So if you are in Denmark reading this and trusting it as being true or the news, then I'm sorry, but you're mistaken. And I'll show you why and how that works. So what does it look like if I minimize this a little bit? Then maybe it's easier for you guys to read and follow along. All right, here we go. So it starts by saying that Trump wants to bully the whole world. It looks like a plan from the Olsen gang. So Olsen gang is like, it's a Olsen-Banden. It's a Danish old movie series. There was like 15 of those. And it was like this guy, this genius Egon Olsen, who had a genius plan, but then always ended up being fucked up. So that's kind of, you see here, like he's telegraphing you, he's inside Trump's mind, knowing what Trump wants. Trump wants to bully the whole world. That's what Trump wants. That's what he's telling you right now, right there. Is that true? I don't think so. I don't think that's what's happening. Like what Trump is claiming is that everybody else has all these kinds of different kinds of trade barriers against America, and has had that for years and years, and Americans haven't done anything about it. Like, you know, America can't sell their goods to China, but China will sell their stuff to America. America can't sell a lot of their stuff to Europe, but Europeans will sell their stuff into America. That's his claim. I don't know how true that is, but from the sources I've seen, it seems that it's true. And it's not just tariffs, it's also technical barriers. Like, you know, and we've seen that in like inside of the EU, right? That was a big part of the European market, is to say, well, you can't use it. I remember a story back when I still lived there about cucumbers and what curvature they had to have. And so that was like a trade barrier. So countries within Europe have for years and years erected these artificial trade barriers by making it really hard for other people to sell their stuff into each country in Europe. And that was one of the big things about the common market in the EU or the European community, was to solve that problem. So is it that much of a stretch to assume that that's happening on a global scale as well? I don't think so. But that's kind of not the assumption here, right? So what up, Yasmin? Yasmin wants to get out. I'm going to oblige. Hang on. All right. That was just the headline. Now we go. The stock market, the stock markets are bleeding while Donald Trump declares that everything is beautiful. Like, that's technically, I suppose, not false. But you see how it's kind of mocking him. Like, it's like yeah, the stock markets are bleaking, but he just says everything's beautiful. There's definitely a mocking tone that I'm sensing in this, right? We're not, there's no respect. There's no trying to understand what he's doing. It's just like, oh my God, he's a fucking idiot. That's the underlying tone always. Like, this guy's an idiot. This guy's an obvious fucking idiot. And so that's the assumption, like that is the underlying belief that everybody who gets their news from a source like this ends up with. And so now everything's going to be seen through the lens of that viewpoint. And this is very important. Like, we all know this in our own lives. Like, we look at someone and we think they're like, say you've been married to someone for a long time, and you've like this person that in the beginning you were like, they're God. And then now you're like, oh, you get annoyed over all the little things. And now you find yourself in a situation where you get annoyed over something that someone else would find adorable and cute, or even like, really attractive. But to you, it's just annoying because the meaning you assign to it and the lens that you're viewing this person through is that they're fucking annoying. And sometimes you have to catch yourself, and you do catch yourself and you realize, oh shit, like, that was just because I was looking at her or him through that lens. That's why I saw it that way, but it's not true. So what this is doing is seeding that lens for you to look at Donald Trump as an idiot, a moron, a like out of touch, whatever, kind of person. And so now everything you see is going to be interpreted through that lens. It's very effective. It's very effective. And this is why the media is like not trying to bring you the truth. The media is trying to tell you what to believe because they have an agenda, they have a narrative. And it's very important to see this. All right, second sentence. It is total chaos. Or is Trump following a plan that is based on a collapse in the stock market? All right. So now we're opening, but he's still starting by declaring it's total chaos. What's the total chaos actually, honestly? Yes, markets are down. Great. Who the fuck cares? If you're not selling, who gives a fuck? Most people don't give a fuck. All right? Like, as long as you're not, like, they might because they've been taught to give a fuck, but how is it really affecting your life? I have money in the stock market. I'm not selling. Have I lost anything? Zero. Nothing. Right? And where do the gains that happened during the Biden administration come from? They happened because Biden and his administration were printing, whoever was running that administration, because now we know he was senile, but someone in that administration were printing trillions and trillions of dollars. I forget the number, but it's an absurd amount of money. What happens is that dilutes the value of the dollar, and so asset prices go up. So a lot of that inflation that we've seen is just due to money being printed. So then it goes up and then it goes down. Like, is that total chaos? I don't think so, but again, that's what you're being told, right? It's not a question. It's saying it is total chaos. Or is Trump following a plan that is based on a collapse in the stock market? Well, yeah. I mean, so now we're talking like, hey, maybe there's actually a plan. If so, it is a plan with many uncertain factors. No shit, Sherlock. Like, the world is uncertain. That's the nature of reality. Like, it's like, keeping the current course is pretty uncertain too. What's going to happen when a country just keeps printing money and goes into more and more debt and enters into a debt spiral, which is the threat here, right? That what is it, $6 trillion, $9 trillion worth of debt that has to be refinanced this year, and interest rates are high. And that adds a huge, I think it's like $1 trillion worth of interest that might be I forget what the numbers are. It's not important, but the point is that debt needs to be refinanced at a much higher interest rate, and that's going to add a lot more cost, which then means that now America would have to borrow more money, and so we get into a debt spiral. Is that uncertain? I would say so, right? So he's not giving us an alternative. He's just saying that Trump's plan, insofar as there is a plan, because of course the man is a lunatic, and so who knows if there's a plan here. There's a lot of uncertain factors. He doesn't say more or less uncertainty than staying with what we've been doing, or right? And much that even Trump cannot control. Like, what does that even do? So, of course, there's a shit ton of stuff that Trump can't control. Like, he can't even control parts of his own government. Like, there's lots of things that he can't control. So even Trump. you can see the tone in this constantly. And this is just a subhead. Now, look at this too. Donald Trump has set the stock markets on fire. It's a dangerous plan to fundamentally change the American economy. All right. Okay. All right. Sure. Like, you see, like, he set it on fire. Oh my God. The drama, right? It's a dangerous plan to fundamentally change the American economy. All right. Okay. All right. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Many Danes probably sent a worried thought to their retirement savings over the weekend. For one retired American, however, what is happening right now is beautiful. What is that? It's like, are you saying Trump is retired? Because he's not. He's actually I don't know if you know this, but he's actually the president of the United States. That's a job. It's actually a paid job. So and he's actually working pretty fucking hard at this job, at least compared to the previous resident. So I don't know what you mean retired, but again, I don't know what the fuck that means. President Donald Trump celebrated his tariff revolution with a golf weekend in Florida. And you see, like, what are you talking about? Like, he plays golf. Yes, he plays golf. And so now, because he played golf on a weekend, which he almost always does, I think. I don't know. I don't follow his schedule that closely. But because it happened after he launched this tariff thing last week, now it's his golf is celebration. Like, again, you're inside of his mind projecting shit, and then as a reader, unless you see through this, you're just absorbing it and being like, oh yeah, of course. Like, he celebrated. Like, that's so good he feels about himself. Now he needs to celebrate with a golf. Like, okay, sure, whatever. Sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something, Trump said, according to AFP. All right, yeah, okay, he said that. His ministers have dismissed the bleeding stocks over the weekend as a temporary adjustment that will be replaced by booming markets soon. All right, thank you for telling us what they're saying. Gone are any notions that the Trump stock market will dampen Trump's aggressiveness. So now, I mean, I guess that's fair. Like, the people thought that he hadn't foreseen that stock markets might fall and that he would get scared. Like, I guess they're just telling on themselves. Like, they get scared when the stock market goes, like, the market goes up and down. That's what a market does, right? If you want it to go up all the time, like, don't be in the market. Like, that's not how that works. So because they freak out and they have no nerve, and so they see the numbers go down, and then they're like, oh my God, and then they're projecting that onto Trump. I don't know. That's how I read this. It may seem like a reckless act, but let's put on a tinfoil hat and return to a topic that was the big topic of conversation just a few weeks ago. Would Trump sacrifice Wall Street to save Main Street? So again, it may seem like a reckless act. Like, I mean, only to someone who's not paying attention or not very smart. Like, Trump has been talking about tariffs for, 30 years. There's a clip circulating of him talking about tariffs on Oprah 30 years ago. So I guess it seems reckless if you're not paying attention or you don't understand the strategy. But I think he goes on to actually unpack that. But let's put on a tinfoil hat. So tinfoil hat, I would say, is definitely derogatory, right? What does the tinfoil hat have to do with any of this stuff, right? Like, would Trump sacrifice Wall Street to save Main Street? Like, I mean, yeah, I think the answer is yes. I mean, I don't think he's made any secret of that. Like, Wall Street is not your friend, right? Wall Street is not your friend. Like, like, people on Wall Street, yes, like, the whole system is so rigged, right? Like, where are you going to put your money? Well, you got to put your money in Treasury or the stock market or something, and the market is rigged to the extent where high frequency traders will make all the money, and the rest of us are making scraps, right? We're not making a whole lot. If you don't have access to the high frequency trading, which you don't, if you're not Morgan Stanley or Goldman or one of those, then like you're just being played, and that money, all that money is slushing around in hedge funds and all of that, like the BlackRocks and all that stuff, which then has this massive influence on industries. Like, Wall Street is not your friend. Okay. So sacrificing Wall Street to save Main Street seems like a pretty good idea to, I don't know, me, but, and a lot of people, I would think. But again, we're being told that somehow this is scary, right? So sacrifice the financial markets to create a new golden era for the average American worker. Again, it's not like sacrificing the financial markets, like in the sense like they're still going to exist. We need financial markets, but they've gotten a lot of gains. Like what happened in 2008? What happened in 2008? Well, what happened was that the bankers got bailed out and the people responsible got massive bonuses. And I don't think anyone was put in jail. Maybe like one or two, I forget, like for as a token or something. But who got screwed? All the rest of us, right? Everybody else got screwed. So it's not like we owe these people a whole ton here, right? So sacrificing not the markets, but some banks and some bankers, sure. And yeah, there might be a situation where you're like retirement age and it's costing you some money right now. Tough luck, right? That's the market. That's how this shit works. If you're relatively young, if you're not selling, you're going to be fine. Like, I think, like, I believe that we're going to be totally fine in a couple of years, but we'll see what happens. Nobody knows. That's the thing, right? Nobody fucking knows what's going to happen here. So, all right. We're in full swing with the sacrifice of Wall Street. Okay. So we're sacrificing Wall Street. And again, it's like the language is just, it's so like incendiary. It's not, you can see how it's not trying to understand or lay out the reality of this, and this is what we know, and this is what we don't know, and these are the arguments for, and like these are some of the concerns that people have, and you make up your mind. No, it's very much telling you what to believe here. In the last 2 trading days of last week alone, US stocks lost 46,000 billion kroner in market value. Again, these are just paper numbers. These are just ticker, like it's not. Some people wrote that like they destroyed $9 trillion worth of value. No value was actually destroyed. In the sense like, this computer is still here. This building is still here. Like the things that actually have value are still there. It's just that the price on the assets, which is a measure of, in part, money supply and all these other things, those numbers are changing. And I don't know what the 2017 thing here is. I'm not sure what they're trying to say with this, other than obviously this looks like a scary graph. Like, oh my God, it's in free fall. But it's not exactly informative, right? Meltdown in the stock market is what it says again here. So what does Trump's plan, taken directly from the playbook that his economic advisor, Stephen Moran, wrote in the fall, look like? This is interesting. I actually have no idea who this guy is. Who is Stephen Moran? And because I've heard of the Treasury Secretary, I've heard of other people. Who's Stephen Moran? And how is he the advisor on this? And what is his relationship? What is Stephen Moran's or what is his relationship? He's a key figure in shaping the current trade war situation. Chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, appointed. All right, so it seems like he's definitely a user guide to restructuring global trade system. Okay, so he seems like he's one of the architects about it, of it. So then he goes through what the actual plan is. So they established a tariff wall to force production to move to the United States, use the American market as a hostage to force favorable concessions. Look at that language. I don't know if that's his language. Maybe it is. I wouldn't think so. To force favorable concessions from trading partners about better access for American exporters. And then they can use security guarantees. 4 of the countries hardest hit by tariff increases rely on U.S. security guarantees. They're Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and the EU. Taiwan has already agreed not to impose retaliatory tariffs in response to the 31% tariffs Trump has imposed on the country, while promising to import more American goods. Taiwanese microchip giant TSMC announced a month ago that it would invest $100 billion in manufacturing facilities in the United States. That is exactly what Trump wants to achieve. More investment in the U.S. and better market access for American companies. The tough response from China is a line in the bill. Much will depend on how the EU responds in the coming days. And then it'll force them to have massive interest cuts. So I'm not going to continue this whole thing. But you see how, like, they're making you look at it through a specific lens. I think this, to me, this plan sounds pretty good, right? Like, use tariffs as a way to get better deals with trading partners. The understanding is that Trump thinks, his administration thinks that they've been screwed over in trade for many, many years. And that may be true, maybe false, but we can look at that in detail. I buy it on face value. We got to get the interest rates down for refinancing the debt. That seems like pretty logical. It's a massive expense. We also got to cut down the spending, and then we got to get rid of regulation and environmental regulation to make it more to spur the economy, right? So anyway, and voila, the U.S. is strong. Combination of tariff wall, low interest rates, abundant, very cheap energy, and lower taxes should then kickstart an industrial jobs machine. Not just industrial, but like a jobs machine that actually does something, right? Like real work, not just like shuttling around Excel sheets. And so this is the plan. If there is a plan, it could also just be total chaos with no one knowing what the president wants, including the president himself. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is that? Honestly, like, that's a fucking insult. There is a plan. You just laid out the plan. Like, it's coming from Stephen Moran, who I didn't know, but apparently came up with a plan. So you know there's a plan. What are you saying if there is a plan? It could also just be total chaos. Yeah, or you know what else it could be? It could be like a yellow cheese made of like used baby diapers. Like, I don't know. It could be all kinds of things, but can we just assume that if they tell you the plan and then they execute on the plan, that's the fucking plan, and that there is a plan? Like, what is this even trying to tell me? What is it trying to do? Other than to make me think the guy's crazy. No one knows what the president wants. Of course, he's been telling you for 30 years, but nobody knows what he wants, including the president himself. Like, what? Like, what makes you even say that other than your head being up your ass? So these people who write this are either like really, really stupid, or really, really stuck in a worldview, or really evil, trying to like sow discord between America and Europe, which could be very close allies, but not if the Europeans are consistently being taught to look at America and Trump as like deranged lunatics who don't know what they want, even themselves. Like, come on. As the Olsen gang can tell you, that's again that old TV or movie series, the devil is in the execution, in all the things you can't control. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, of course. But America being America, there's a lot that America can control. While Danes' pensions, and they can adjust, right? Like, if you assume that they're not fucking idiots, they're not morons. The guy got elected 3 times for president, and nobody thought it was going to happen. And he did. Like, so there's that, you know? He's, like, this notion that Trump is some fucking moronic idiot is just bizarre. No, I think he's quite smart. He talks in a very certain way that happens to be very effective, and that pisses a lot of people off. And he definitely has some quirks, and definitely has some interesting personality characteristics, but he's not dumb, and he's not actually reckless. He's quite intuitive, and he's quite intentional. He's been very consistent for many, many years. That's what I see. That's what I see. And fun fact, some people don't know, but Trump grew up going to a church right over there in Manhattan. He grew up in Queens, and then they go to Manhattan to go to a church where the pastor was Vincent Norman Peale. And for those of you who don't know who was Vincent, if I could type Vincent Norman Peale, who was he? Norman Vincent Peale, sorry, got that wrong. He was the founder of the positive thinking movement. Right? He's the father of positive thinking. If you believe it, if you keep thinking of it, you will make it happen. He thought himself to be the fucking president. Can he think himself to save America's economy? I would bet on that. I would actually fucking bet on that because he's that good at what he's doing. That's my read. While Danes' pensions savings have fallen, it is nothing compared to what is happening to Americans. The Danish C25 index may have been pushed back several years, but other stock indices in Europe have actually only been pushed back to the turn of the year. The American indices have also returned the gains of 2024. The corporate pension plan and 401ks, for many, the difference between a comfortable retirement and the poorhouse. All right, because the markets went down like the gains of a year. Now we're talking about the poorhouse. Like, come on. And unlike both the Corona era and the financial crisis, there are no coordinated measures in the U.S. or cooperation with the outside world to show the decline so far. Like, what? That is interesting, right? Like, during the Corona era, we shut the economy, no fucking good reason, right? We know that now. Sweden didn't, and they were just fine. Like, the whole thing was a lie. The whole thing was a fabrication. The whole thing was complete and utter bullshit. And we shut down the economy, and there was a massive crash in the markets. And these people were not up in arms about that. They were all for it, right? And then he's saying no coordinated measures in the U.S. or cooperation with the outside world to slow the declines. What he means is that then they used the COVID measures to make sure that all that wealth went to the biggest companies in the world, right? So Walmart got to stay open. Apple and Facebook and Google, their stocks went through the roof while regular businesses were shut down and people were forced to stay in their homes. And all they could do was to go use those big companies' platforms. So they made lots of money. Amazon, you could order online, right? And then we sent out the stimmy checks to everybody. And what did people do with that money? They sent them to those big companies. So the coordinated measures and the cooperation that he talks about is, how do we turn the coronavirus, which was engineered in a lab in China, paid for by the U.S. government, the deep state U.S. government, against the law of the U.S., and then leaked or accidentally, or maybe it was intentionally leaked. I don't know. But it worked out pretty well for a lot of people. So the coordinated measures were designed to make the richer even richer. So that's how that was the cooperation to slow the declines. All right, I'm gonna leave this at here. This is plenty, but I hope this gives you a sense of how to read this garbage, because it is utter fucking garbage. I'm paying for this only so that I can see what kind of garbage it is. But if this, my friends, is your main source of news, you have no fucking clue what's going on. And you got to be super freaking vigilant of what you let into your mind, because this is, every single sentence is programming you with a certain view. It's now not overtly saying it, but it is signifying how to think about America and about Trump. And it's not good, and it's not helpful, and it's not serving you. It's not serving you. Because just like there's no good reason that America shouldn't be good friends with Russia, Russia is not a fucking threat. Europe should be good friends with Russia. Russia is not a threat. Like, these people who think that Russia is going to now start invading Denmark next, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do they want with Denmark? What the fuck do they care? They have no interest in Denmark. They it's not a thing. Have you looked at a map? Have you seen how big Russia is? They're not looking for more territory. They're looking for security. That's the only reason they're at war in Ukraine, is because America, Victoria Nuland, and other people in the American apparatus, like CIA, USAID, all these, like Endowment for Democracy, all of those nefarious, evil, sinister American organizations have been wanting to hurt Putin specifically and Russia in general for decades. You can look this up. Look at Victoria Nuland's background and history. It's disgusting. And so they've been wanting to threatening Russia for years and years, and at a certain point he was just like, this is it. Like, I'm sorry to Ukrainians, because Ukraine is going to be destroyed for generations, right? Like, I don't know, millions of people left, millions of people wounded or killed in the war. Like the cities, leveled. The Ukraine is not coming back in our lifetimes. Like, it's just done. Sorry. But that was completely avoidable. It was provoked by those operators in America. I think that's one of the things that I see with my friends in Europe, is that they think that what they read in the newspaper is true. They think that what's happening on the surface is what's really happening. No, it's not. Generally, there's been all of this shit that happens underneath the surface. So Biden would go on and say nice things, or Mayorkas or Blinken or whatever, but underneath there's all the New York Times just had an article, what was it, last week or something, talking about how deeply embedded America has been in that war in Ukraine for a long time. And I was like, oh, now we can admit it. Just like they were like, oh, the coronavirus came from a wet market. And then it's like, well, maybe actually it came from this. I'm like, calm the fuck on. So like, if the media was lying to you then, and then they'll like seep out, they'll let out the truth like 3-4 years later, can we just assume that they're lying to us today? And then if you're paying attention, you'll actually see them reveal the truth some years later. Like, question things, people. Like, JFK was murdered in 1963. And it's only now that we're getting like some of the final papers out. Like, can we just assume that we're being lied to constantly? You may want to look into Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, and Wisner's Wurlitzer. Here, what was Wisner's Wurlitzer? Wisner's Wurlitzer was a program by the CIA where they could play. Oh, I spelled his name wrong. Frank Wisner was the head of the Office of Policy Coordination of the CIA in the 1940s, and later deputy director of plans. And he coined the term Mighty Wurlitzer as a metaphor for the CIA's extensive network of propaganda and influence operations during the Cold War. The Wurlitzer was a popular brand of jukebox and theater organ, known for its ability to play a wide range of tunes with the push of a button. Wisner used this analogy to describe how the CIA could orchestrate public opinion by playing various media outlets, organizations, and individuals to promote anti-communist narratives and U.S. interests. Wisner's Wurlitzer is a fucking thing. They could play European populations like a fucking organ, like a musical instrument, to get them to feel and be incensed and like obsessed with whatever they wanted them to for their own needs. That didn't stop, right? What is Operation Mockingbird? So that is essentially the same. It's another CIA op that is infiltrating all of media, basically all of the world, so that the CIA can plant stories and can kill stories that they want to control. You can write a bunch of shit that has no significance, that has no consequence, but the CIA will control the things that they care about, right? It's closely tied to Wisner's Wurlitzer. Is covert. Of course, it's covert, right? So this is the thing. Like, all this shit is covert. So if you think that what you read in the news, like the surface story is what's happening, it's not, because the real shit happens at the covert level. I think that's one of the big differences with the Trump government, is that they actually make their plans really overt. They say it like it is. Whereas every other administration has been operating very covertly. They say one thing and then they do something completely different. I don't know. It might be that Trump is doing a lot of things covertly. I'm sure there's things that are happening behind the scenes that we're not talking about. Of course, that's how that works. But I don't get the sense that there's this like 180 right? That they say one thing in public and then they doing the complete opposite in covertly. Also important to recognize that the government is not one monolith. It's not like, oh, now Trump is elected, now everybody in government loves Trump and they're just going to do what Trump says. That's not how this works. 98% of donations from the DC area goes to Democrats. Most of the people in the government actually actively hates him, and they will do whatever they can to undermine and sabotage him. It's not a monolith. Like, we live in the real world, right? We gotta live in the real world and not in this imaginary world. Oh, I forgot to share my screen, by the way, about the Wurlitzer. Here, I asked Grok, what is the Wisner's Wurlitzer? And then he gave me this. And then what's Operation Mockingbird? You can ask yourself, and you can Google it, and you'll see. There is what was the German journalist who told about how he was influenced by CIA and later died. Udo, I think his name is Udo. I forget exactly. Yeah, Udo Ulfkotte. Here we go. Look him up. Check him out. There's some videos. He wrote a book, Journalists for Hire: How the CIA Buys the News. And so, yeah, he wrote for the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, one of Germany's major newspapers from 1986 to 2003. And then he just told about how the CIA buys the influence on the news. And it's not just blackmail. It's also, articles to publish, offer gifts like luxury trips and gold watches, and pressured him to slant stories in favor of U.S. interests. One example he gave was a fabricated story about a Libyan leader, Muammar Gaddafi, building poison gas factories, which he said was fed to him by intelligence operatives. And then he died in 2017 at the age of 56, reportedly of a heart attack. His death sparked speculation among some circles, given his whistleblowing claims and his prior statements. So, just like Andrew Breitbart died of a heart attack at a young age, suspiciously. So look out, people. Just think critically. Try to make sense of this. I'm not saying that you have to love Trump, and there's lots to love and there's lots to hate. But just think critically. Don't fall for the BS stories, the BS narrative, the BS propaganda. Yeah, that's and get this book. It's a fucking $1. It's $1 on Kindle. I'm recording the audiobook, so that will be available as well. But get it. Yeah. I'm going to make the full text available on my website as well, but don't let that stop you from getting the Kindle book. And it's $1. It's the lowest I could set it to, so I would give it away for free, but 99 cents is the cheapest that I can do. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I love you. I'll be back, and we'll talk later. Bye.